Hello and welcome to this video on Snap Test Prep Plan. Before I actually start explaining you on how to prepare for the Snap test, let us first start understanding what is the pattern of Snap. So, Snap has 150 questions, they comprise of 150 marks. General English, which we include as RCs, which is reading comprehensions, verbal ability and parajumbles and all, comprise of 40 questions, followed by Quantitative aptitude, which includes data interpretation is also 40 questions. General awareness, which is current affairs nowadays, comprises of 30 questions, and then followed by logical reasoning, which is also 40 questions. So in all, there are 150 questions for which you get 2 hours time, and they comprise of 150 marks. And yes, there is a negative marking of 25% per marks. So there is a 1/4 negative of every question that you get it wrong. So what has changed in Snap since last year? Actually, nothing as far as pattern is concerned, but yes, there is a big change. Snap this year is online, which means all these 150 questions which previously used to be coming on paper will now be coming on the screen, and that, my friends, increases the difficulty level of the test directly, because the same RC which you used to do very easily and quickly on the paper will be coming on the screen, and same DI will be now coming on the screen, increasing the difficulty of the test. So what should the preparation plan be? The first and a very natural strategy that we suggest to every student should be that you need to start practicing questions online, because the Snap test is conducted online, and doing questions on a paper and online, it's a very big difference. So apart from the practicing of questions, the mock tests also that you give should be online, because doing the same 150 questions on paper and the 150 questions on screen are a different ball game altogether. So that is the first, that is practice questions online and practice mocks also online. Second is, now you need to look at each and every section of what has been asked in Snap since past years. So if I decipher it into the 4 sections of verbal and then quant and then GK and then logical reasoning, let us understand each one of them separately. So typical Snap verbal section comprises of fill in the blanks which are based upon vocabulary or on grammar. It comprises of parajumbles, it comprises of sentence correction sometimes, reading comprehension is there, critical reasoning is there. So holistically speaking, it comprises of all different parts of verbal ability, verbal reasoning, critical reasoning and reading comprehension. But the word of caution here is, in reading comprehension, there are 2 passages. Now, students generally in a speed-based test want to avoid reading comprehension. Why? Because generally it takes a little time to read the whole passage and solve the questions. On the contrary, people who want to prepare very smartly for Snap would focus a lot on vocabulary and grammar, because 1/3 of the paper is completely dependent upon grammar and vocabulary. So if you have a good vocabulary which includes the knowledge of foreign words, and you have a good grammar connection, then I think verbal ability section can be cracked very easily. Students who are good in vocabulary and grammar have dual advantage. First, they would for sure be cracking the verbal section. Second, they would have an advantage of time, because vocabulary and grammar sections generally happen fast, and the time that is saved in vocabulary and grammar of verbal ability will be used in solving quant questions. So they would have certainly an advantage over the other students. Talking about quant sections, which also has 40 questions. In this section, you would find all different kinds of questions from algebra, arithmetic, geometry and advanced algebra also. The only catch is that they would not be of a very high difficulty level. And yes, the section is mostly being covered by 2 topics, and that are number systems and geometry. So a simple preparation strategy for Snap is, you have to master your geometry and you have to be good at number systems, because at least 7 and 7, I mean 14 questions in total out of the 40 will be comprising of these 2 topics. Rest of the topics are also there, like time and work, TSD, SICI. You would find a lot of them being available there, but in minority, because they would probably be 1 or 2 questions at max of these topics. So a simple preparation strategy is, focus on the easy level questions of all the topics, because they all are comprising of it, and a simple straight focus on geometry and number systems should be there, because Snap likes these 2 topics. While the quant section also comprises of data interpretation, but not many questions, maximum 7 or 10 questions out of the 40 in quant are given to the data interpretation. And these DI questions are generally based upon simple topics like table, bar graph, line and pie chart. So nothing very haphazard has to be prepared as far as DI is concerned. If you can stick to the basics and get the table or bar graph and pie chart right, I think you will be able to crack the 6 or 7 or 8 questions of the DI present in the quant section of SNAP. So GK section includes understanding and learning of following points. You should have updates about the latest sports events and who are the winners or runners of the event. Second, you should have understanding about socio-political development in nation and at international level also. One must have understanding of science and technological developments that happened in the last 2 years. It also includes a lot of changes that happens in the economic policies of the country. It may be rules and regulations, it may be changes in the base rate, it could be any change in bank policy or government policy that has been framed in the last 2 years. And last but not the least, it should be a good study about what are the awards being given in the last 2 years and who were the famous personalities that were in the limelight in the last 2 years. Knowledge about all these 5-6 points can help you crack the GK section of SNAP. The fourth section of SNAP is reasoning. In reasoning, SNAP is known to create a lot of beautiful questions every year. Every year they would come with some or the other pattern of different type of question. A student is required to have practiced all different types of questions that can come in analytical reasoning and logical reasoning also, because it comprises of direction sense, blood relationships, arrangements, puzzles, coding, decoding, series based questions, and there are a lot of questions on Venn diagrams, visual reasoning. So there are all different kinds of questions that SNAP comprise of. What is required by a student to prepare is don't leave any kind of questions not being done by you, because you may not want to get struck on that day with unawareness of certain type of questions. So they have input output based questions which are data structures. So a lot of different kinds of questions are being covered, and it also includes a lot of reasoning which has mathematical base, which we also call as analytical reasoning, is being covered in the SNAP. So a simple test prep strategy for reasoning is make sure you are aware about all different kinds of questions, though the level of questions will be of easy difficulty, but still awareness about all questions is very, very important. So those are the knowledge about the 4 sections that come in SNAP. Students should at the end understand that it's a super speed based test. In 2 hours you're supposed to do 150 questions, which means 3 things are very, very important. First is identifying the question that you like, doing that question right, and doing that question right in a fast time is the need of the hour. And therefore all the preparation that you are planning to do for SNAP should be focused only on 2 things, that is selecting the question right and doing it fast, because ultimately the winner will be one who will be able to do more questions and more of them will be right. So at the end I would like to say, my friends, prepare hard and prepare fast for SNAP.